Okay, gonna do a bow drill concept using store-bought materials. Some jute twine for the tinder bundle, a hardwood wooden dowel, so one that I just had left over from whatever I was messing with before. This is a piece of cedar, just cut from a long 8-foot piece. Candle's really not too useful other than for maybe lighting after the fact. But this is going to be used as the bearing block, so it's normally just a typical candle holder. Bought this at a thrift store for like $1/4. And the only thing that's not store-bought will actually be the bow itself. It's actually from an oak branch and some paracord for the bowstring. So I'll trim this up and see how it goes. Okay, didn't have to do much trimming. Really, all I did was just using the Swiss Army knife. Just a dull point really on the end of the spindle, and actually on the other end I'm actually not gonna trim it off at all. Just gonna try it just as it is, since the candle holder is kind of wide enough for it, so there's no need to really put a stiff point on it, so at least so I don't think anyway. Also wanted to mention that you can do the thumbnail test on there, so if it's visible or not, but my thumbnail does dig into it, so hopefully a wooden dowel from the store will work. Okay, just gonna do my burn in real quick. Carved a little divot into the fireboard. A candle holder. Interesting. I don't know if you can tell, but the dust is quite flaky. Not good. Let's see how that works. Yeah, quite coarse. Nice coarse dust. Already not looking good. Dust pile is smoking, so it seems. It's real flaky though. Expect, since it's somewhat chunky, that it's not able to retain the heat. So it goes out after a while. So it's just real grainy particles. Okay, my first attempt actually created some really coarse dust, so very more like coffee grounds than like a nice powder, so almost like little bits of charcoal. So gonna try a second attempt. Created a new hole. See how it turns out. Shorten the spindle a little bit. Cut it down. So I think it was actually causing some vibration, which doesn't help either. You don't want to vibrate the dust pile loose. And also, I think part of the reason the dust was flaky or chunky is I was applying quite a bit of down pressure, so I'm going to actually go more for speed than down pressure to see if I can get the particles to be a little more fine. Still pretty flaky, chunky. Yeah, pile of the dust particles are just not fine enough. So it's not looking good for using a wooden dowel. So just to see how, yeah, so something's not right with the wood, at least for friction fire purposes. So it's got either resin mixed in with it or something that's keeping the dust from breaking apart into nice small particles. Okay, for grins, I'm gonna mix match it a little bit just to try to rule out which one's the problem. So what I'm gonna do is actually take a piece of natural pine with spindle and put it into the Cedar, the store-bought Cedar fireboard, and then I'll try natural pine fireboard with the store-bought spindle or the dowel, wooden dowel. So try this one first. I expect this will work, or at least see what the characteristics are with the dust. See if it'll let me here. Challenge when using the get it better. I'm going to try again using a rollerblade wheel for the bearing block, just since I have the spindle already prepped for it. Okay, so like I expected, part of the reason I was having trouble is because the spindle is not exactly straight. You can see a little bit of a crookedness into it, but got it to work, and it looks good that I have a dust pile. So it's definitely not the fireboard, which I've been successful many times using a store-bought cedar wood to use as both the spindle and fireboard. So it looks good. Smoking on its own. See if we can get a red glow. There it is. Alright. Not even flames on its own. There you go. Okay. Now let's see if we can try the store-bought wooden dowel for the spindle. Shear off the tip here. And work it into a proven fireboard. Natural pine. See if we get similar flake characteristics. Definitely flakier. So it's looking like the culprit. But I am curious to see. Nope, I don't think it's going to do it. The dust from the fireboard might have helped. Yeah, it's all mostly chunky. Losing it here. So definitely the wooden dowel is the problem. So it's whatever the wood characteristics are is preventing the dust from coalescing nicely, or at least being fine enough to coalesce. It's all in chunks and flakes and crumbs. Interesting little test. Okay, so in the future, store-bought wooden dowels are usually not a good choice, and at least in this case. So I'm not sure if this was a hardwood or oak, or I bought this a while back, so I'm not sure if this just maybe this type of dowel. Interesting.